All right, today we are going under the hood of Python. We're going to take a look at the hidden engine that's really powering every single line of code you write. And trust me, by the end of this, you'll finally understand why some of Python's behaviors can seem so weird, but are actually so powerful.
You've probably written a line like this, thousands of times? It seems so obvious, right? You have a variable, x, and you put the value 10 into it. But what if I told you that's not what's happening at all? The reality is way, way more interesting. And here it is. This is the master key to understanding Python. It's a really simple phrase, but it has these massive implications for how the language works, how it deals with memory, and honestly, how you should be writing your code.
So our whole investigation starts right here with this one core concept. Because once you really get this, I promise, the rest of Python's memory model just clicks into place.
So what does it even mean to be an object? Well, it just means that every single piece of data in Python, and I mean everything, has three core properties. It has a unique identity, which is just its address in memory. It has a type, which defines what you can do with it. And of course, it has a value, the actual data it's holding. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because you can see just how deep this rule goes. The number 10? Yeah, it's an object with its own ID and type. The string hello? Same deal. But check out that last row. Even a function you write is an object. It has its own unique address in memory and a specific type. This consistency is exactly what makes Python so flexible and powerful. And this right here, this is probably the single biggest misconception people have about variables in Python. When you write x equals 10, you're not making a box called x and stuffing the number 10 into it. No! What's really happening is you're creating an integer object that holds the value 10, and then you're taking a name tag, a label called x, and you're just sticking it onto that object. This difference is absolutely crucial. Okay, so if variables are just labels, that brings up a pretty big question, doesn't it? How does Python keep track of all the actual objects, all the boxes? And how does it know when it's safe to throw them away and free up memory? Well, the answer is a pretty simple but kind of genius system called reference counting. Just imagine that every single object has this tiny little counter attached to it. Every time you stick a new label on it, the counter goes up by 1. And every time you peel a label off, the counter goes down by 1. And what happens when that counter finally hits 0? Python knows nobody is using that object anymore, and poof, it's gone, removed from memory. You know, the best way to really get this is to just see it happen. So let's do that. We'll create a list object and attach our very first label to it, myList. And just like you'd expect, that new list object now has an internal reference count of 1. It's that simple. One label, one reference. Okay, now watch this part closely. When we create another list, we are not making a copy of the list. All we're doing is taking a second label and sticking it onto the exact same list object we already made. And boom, its reference count ticks up to 2. Now, this is so important because it means both labels point to the same object. If you change the list using myList, you're going to see that exact same change when you look at another list because they're looking at the same thing. So what happens when we peel one of those labels off? We can use the del keyword to do that. The name another underscore list is now gone. And just like that, the object's count drops back down to 1. But notice the object itself is still perfectly fine. It's still alive because myList is still pointing to it. It's only when that very last label is removed that the count will finally hit 0 and Python will know it's time to clean up that object. So reference counting seems pretty perfect, right? It's efficient, it's immediate, but it has one critical weakness. And that weakness is something called a cycle. This is the one scenario that just breaks simple reference counting. Imagine you have two objects that are kind of holding hands, pointing at each other, but the rest of your program has completely forgotten they exist. Let's break it down. Object A has a reference to B, so B's reference count is at least 1. And object B has a reference pointing right back to A, so A's count is also at least 1. See the problem? Even if we delete every other variable that points to them, they keep each other alive forever. The reference counts will never drop to 0. That is a classic memory leak. And this is where Python's safety net comes in, the garbage collector. You can think of it as a specialized memory janitor. It doesn't run all the time, but every once in a while it does a sweep. It figures out every single object that's reachable from your main program.
Anything that's left over, like our little isolated cycle, is declared garbage, and the collector just sweeps it away.
So we've seen how Python creates objects and how it cleans them up. But it also has some really clever tricks to avoid creating objects in the first place, which is pretty cool. All right, get ready for a little bit of a puzzle. Take a look at this code. When we create two variables, a and b, with the value 256, and then we ask Python, are these the exact same object, using the is keyword, Python says, yep, true. But then we do the exact same thing with the number 257, and Python says, nope, false. What on earth is going on here?
The answer is a fantastic little optimization called object interning. See, to save time and memory, when Python starts up, it pre-creates a whole pool of commonly used objects. For integers, that's everything from -5 all the way up to 256. So when you write a equals 256, Python doesn't bother making a new object. It just hands you a label to the one it already made. But 257 is outside that special range, so it has to create two brand new separate objects. It's a totally hidden performance boost.
You know, that optimization we just saw, interning, is the perfect way to understand why the difference between an object's identity and its value is so incredibly important for writing correct, bug-free Python code. Okay, this slide is basically your cheat sheet. The is operator is checking for identity. It's asking the question, are these two labels stuck on the exact same box in memory? The double equals operator, double equals, checks for value. It asks a different question. Do these two boxes, wherever they might be, contain the same stuff inside? Knowing which question you actually want to ask is absolutely key.
And look, this stuff isn't just abstract theory. It has a massive real-world impact. There's a case from a financial analytics company whose data pipeline kept crashing because it was running out of memory. The culprit? You guessed it, huge data objects caught in a circular reference. Once the developers understood what was happening, they were able to fix it, and they cut memory usage by over 30% and boosted their speed by nearly 20%. This knowledge makes a real difference.
So, I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. Imagine you're building a social network. You have a user object, and it has a friends list. When user A friends user B, you add B to A's list. Simple enough. But then, user B probably needs a reference back to user A, right? Uh-oh, you've just created a potential memory cycle. How would you design that to avoid the trap? It's a classic problem that really shows why understanding Python's hidden engine is so important. Thanks for tuning in.